Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback a bit on what Tim was saying about bots, and because I had the pleasure and dismay of playing against her for all the years I was at Dartmouth, and it was effortless and it was easy, and it didn't look like she was trying that hard. And in my coaching career, I've only really coached two or three players who have that, who dominate in that way, who make it look completely effortless. And as they aspire to the national team level, it's actually used against them. And so I'm curious for Tim, since you brought it up, a kid who is dominating, who makes it look effortless, who I think in Canada we prioritize, like, you got to have your, with the girls, your hair swinging and sweating, and it has to look hard. We prioritize, we value that competitiveness, that it always looks like you're trying hard. That is a Canadian ideal. I think when we talk about our national teams, or when the broadcasters are speaking, it is something we value very deeply, in the way that we play hockey. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It is just something that seems to be ingrained. So my question then is, and Daryl might be, the best person to answer it. When you do have players who, at the level they're at, it is effortless. They can't fake it. You can't ask them to make it look like they're trying harder, but it's actually being used against them in their evaluation. How do you challenge that player? How do you without putting them up at a higher level? If they're playing in junior and that's the highest level they can be at till they get to college hockey, how do you help them change that when the game is just too easy at the level they're at?
I think
So
my approach would be to microstat them. And so I would be talking about, you know, when you engage in your one-on-one responsibilities, what is your success rate? And what does that, how did you define, what do you define as part of that success rate? So sometimes the definition is just to disrupt the puck, and sometimes the definition is to come out of there with the puck. So kids who have a very fluid and very have a very effortless type of style that get accused of maybe not digging down and competing, there's a handful of instances in every game where it requires them to put their work boots on and they're going to have to, buckle down and get into it. I would isolate those opportunities, but I certainly wouldn't work them off the effortlessness of what it is that they do. That's an identity piece, and I would not be inclined to do that. I'd be more inclined to, hey, listen, I've looked at your game, I've studied it. You have 6 situations every night in which you pretty much have to buckle down. I care about those. The rest of it, try easy, kid. It's a gift. Keep going. But it's not a gift if you're not good in these 6. So these 6, let's recognize them when they happen. And when they happen, you have to come out with positive results. How do we do that? And they might be little ticky tacky where they go in and it's very cute and it's a little stick lift and they try to get out of there. And that, for some, it's going to work some of the time, but the success rate over time is low when you're ticky tacky like that. So I would be like, when these situations occur, are you recognizing them? And if you do recognize them, do you know how to really be able to influence those results? The rest of the time, use your gift of being effortless. Hell, all of us who've taught any skating at all, we want kids to try easy. We don't want them to be trying hard. You want to be trying easy. So it's a little counterintuitive to then say, oh, by the way, let's go back to this. I think you just got to pick some battles that are important, quite literally, and really hold them accountable to those. And I think you can get the best of both worlds out of that.
I totally agree, Daryl. And I was writing down sort of my response to Kim, and I literally wrote down exactly what you just said. There are moments in the game where effort is apparent to everybody. If you're F1 on the forecheck, if you're back checking, if you're in a puck battle with somebody, everybody can see the effort you put into those. And Bots, in particular, was not used to putting out effort in those areas because she saved her energy so she could play 40 minutes a game. And it's not a criticism of Bots. It's a criticism of the coaches at Harvard that basically overused her and did her a disservice. So I totally agree with you. It's incumbent on the players, as you intelligently pointed out. There might be 6 or 8 or 10 times a game where we as a team need to see your work boots on. We're not saying you have to change your game. We're not saying this or that. We need that as a team, because most teams, that's who we are as a team. We want to be a hardworking team. And so that I totally agree there. And it's not about how easy it looks or becomes, because thinking players, and Bots was a very intelligent player, and she's a great analyst as well. Thinking players can tend to look more effortless because they're taking the information in and they're trying to think a step ahead. So when this happens, that happens, I'm ready to go over here. But there are instances when, as you said, the work boots have to be on. And that was something that Bots struggled with through most of that year.
Daryl, I want to, related to Jennifer and related to high draft picks coming up, and I'm using Sam Steele as an example. Their shift lengths in junior hockey, and generally in all levels of hockey, Kim, are too long. They overplay those players. They adapt and can play longer shifts. They have the smarts and skills to slow the game down at that level, and they can play and contribute. So Sam Steele is a good example because I watched him in the Memorial Cup, and I watched him leading up to it. And I'm good friends of one of the skills coaches of the teams. He was double shifted literally the entire game, and never went on the ice. Was on the ice for sometimes 4 minutes in the third period. When they got to overtime, now he's got to go to a league. I don't know that he's going to really ever contribute in the NHL. How long do you learn to play 40-second shifts? In the game, that's what the game is at the Olympic level. And you're reared growing up in the system with much longer shifts and entitled ice time. And now all of a sudden you're trying to find a role and a place on a team. So Daryl, any points on that?
Well, I'm of the opinion that Sam Steele is an NHL player, and his desire to be an impact NHL player. He's been an impact player his whole life. He'll figure it out. At some point, he'll find a way. He'll want to play. He'll want to be an impact player, and he'll find his way.